This week in Jamaica Now, job descriptions at last.
And that is why, Madam Speaker, it burned me.
But why was Prime Minister Andrew Holness upset in Parliament this week? The veil on the sole accused in the SSL fraud scandal is being lifted. Corrupt politicians?
Give me the evidence.
And the hunt continues for 8 prisoners who escaped a St. Elizabeth lockup. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. Prime Minister Andrew Holness tabled job descriptions for parliamentarians and cabinet ministers in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. He's fulfilling a promise he made in the lead-up to the 2016 general elections. Mr. Holness says the tools will set out the strategic objective for each post and act as a means of accountability and ensuring performance standards. A parliamentary committee of senators and MPs will note the approved document for ministers and refine the one proposed for MPs. Opposition leader Mark Golding said members from his side will be participating fulsomely in the discussions on the job descriptions for MPs. Meanwhile, Mr. Holness went on the defensive in Gordon House, lambasting persons he says are trying to mislead Jamaicans on government policies.
Because the government has run the country so well that it can give you a salary increase without worrying that next year you're going to get wage freeze. And that is why, Madam Speaker, it burned me when I hear the nonsense that people talking. No other government has done that. And I stand in this parliament, Madam Speaker, and say that all the lies and misinformation that is being spewed by the political entrepreneurs, that this government is not going to sit back. You hear what the member said over there? He said, oh, this sounds like 2015. Madam Speaker, let it be well known that this Prime Minister has the ability, anytime I feel to turn it on, to get back in the public domain and let the people know that we will not be misled. Madam Speaker, I was just ruling. Madam Speaker, I was just fooling because while they are out there spreading lies and misinformation, we were busy working.
MP Dr. Angela Brown-Burke said the opposition will not be afraid of criticizing the administration.
I wanted to say, without fear or favor, that no matter what badness anyone comes in here with, no matter the words anyone uses inside here, you are not going to get us on this side to stop talking about those things that we believe are wrong. We are going to continue talking on behalf of the Jamaican people. And, Madam Speaker, I could not leave this parliament without putting it squarely on the table, because we are here, every single member, sent here by the good people of their constituency, who have voted for them, who they meet with from time to time, who they discuss their issues with, and who come here, as you say in here, to advocate and to represent. You might feel uncomfortable when it's done, but I'm going to tell you, get used to it, because it won't change.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke has told Parliament that he did not know his ministry blocked taxpayers from accessing a consultancy report that informed controversial new salaries implemented recently for public sector workers. He made the disclosure in Parliament on Tuesday.
The report that is available, the Confederation of Trade Unions, has been shared with them, has been shared with other unions as well. This is not a secret document. The headline that appeared in the newspaper, I saw that headline for the first time myself, in that the whatever transpired between the newspaper and the technocrats at the ministry. So this is not a representation of my. So saying two facts. One, the document that's available was shared with the Confederation of Trade Unions and shared with other unions as well. And two, the request that was made was not, usually if they don't get through, they escalate, and it escalates and comes up to the minister and they ask, hey, what is happening? This time they chose not to escalate. They just went and printed. And I saw it in the newspaper for the first time, like everybody else.
But opposition leader Mark Golding told Dr. Clark that the ministry's actions are not transparent and he should cause the ministry to reverse the decision.
Sounds a bit like the FSC report on the SSL. But, Madam Chair, on that issue, the minister said the report that is available. What does he mean by that? What report is he referring to? All I can tell you is that the unions who I discussed the matter with over the months said they had not seen the ENY report. And the minister has chosen those words carefully, no doubt, when he speaks to the report that is available. And that what we're being told is that the report that has been requested is a draft and is not going to be released, and they're relying on some provision in the Access to Information Act to deny access to it to the public. And I think that's a bad thing. It's not transparent. And I urge the minister, who apparently didn't even know that decision was made, which is a surprise to say the least, countermands it and releases the report.
The ministry denied a Gleaner request for the information, saying the documents are being treated as drafts as reforms continue. The government has paid international consulting firm Ernst & Young almost $1 billion for reports on the compensation restructuring and shared services among government departments. Sagicor Bank Jamaica says it intends to satisfy a court order obtained by sports star Usain Bolt for the disclosure of transactions linked to accounts owned by Gene & Panton, the sole accused in the alleged $3 billion fraud at Stockton Securities Limited (SSL). Two financial institutions, Sagicor and CIBC First Caribbean International Bank, have been given 14 days from around June 14 when they were served to comply. Bolt's company has sued SSL and Ms. Panton over the alleged theft of almost $2 billion from the account of his holding company, Welgen Limited. Government Minister Daryl Vaz has denied suggestions he's involved in Spyglass, one of 4 developments in the Tavistock-Jacksel area of St. Andrew. Residents have expressed concerns about the apartment complexes in construction or have been approved for the area, which they say suffers from unstable soil. Mr. Vaz, the Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, says he and his brothers transferred the land for Spyglass in a joint venture to a developer. Now the issue has national attention after other activities by a prospective developer resulted in a landslide that has blocked a roadway. The government's Mines and Geology Division has described the area as highly prone to a number of geohazards. The division says the area in which the developments are proposed is not recommended for urban-suburban occupation. The National Environment and Planning Agency and the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, the 2 state agencies which have approved 3 of the 4 developments so far, have not answered Gleaner questions on their due diligence. Anti-corruption lobby National Integrity Action (NIA) has accused Cabinet Minister Orbin Hill of being arrogant and seeking to downplay the widely held view that many Jamaican politicians are corrupt. At a post-cabinet press briefing on Wednesday, Mr. Hill, the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, challenged Jamaicans to provide evidence to support corruption claims against politicians.
It's easy to say a politician or a big business tycoon or a preacher is corrupt. It's not easy to prove it. So we must get to the place in Jamaica where we stop just saying and tweeting and Instagramming and wherever else you want to use to say politicians are crooked. It's time for you, especially as a young journalist like you, to say, fine, you just said that. You show me where they have been. Give me the evidence. And if there's evidence, you call out the politician.
However, Daniel Archer, the principal director of the NIA, argued that Mr. Hill's comments do not show an appreciation for Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index and Jamaica's consistently low ranking. Ms. Archer also argued that Mr. Hill's call for evidence comes amid some government lawmakers' push to weaken the Integrity Commission, Jamaica's main anti-corruption agency. A police hunt continues for 8 prisoners who escaped from the Black River Police lockup in St. Elizabeth on Monday. The men were discovered missing during routine checks about 6 o'clock in the morning. The men were in custody for serious crimes including murder and robbery. Now the Police High Command has since announced a series of changes in the leadership of the parish, with Commander Superintendent Kenneth Chin reassigned to Area 5 headquarters. Deputy Superintendent Coleridge Minto has left St. Andrew to take up duties as commanding officer for the St. Elizabeth Division. And the government has imposed another round of states of public emergency SOEs in St. James and Westmoreland. The measures took effect on Thursday and will run for 15 days. The SOEs, which give the security forces powers to search and arrest without a warrant, are aimed at quelling murders in the parishes. Jamaica recorded 597 murders for the period January 1 to June 16, a 13% decline over the similar period last year. Up to June 19, St. James recorded 95 murders, the highest number across all police divisions. Westmoreland was second with 54 homicides. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, more from Prime Minister Andrew Holness on the job descriptions he's tabled in Parliament and from the opposition leader Mark Golding.
While the public has a legitimate view about its politicians and their deservingness of being paid, we need to lead the public in the correct understanding of the issues. There are others, Madam Speaker, who believe that there is no need to properly pay public servants, particularly politicians, because they will supplement their income through informal, opaque, or corrupt means. This is the commonly shared thinking that has driven our approach to compensating holders of public office, both administrative and political, in this country since independence. Where has it gotten us? While we must acknowledge that these views are not without some groundings in our history and lived experience, there comes a time in the life of any society where we must approach the problem from a different angle and apply new thinking and perspectives.
I think this is an important exercise, and it will be very interesting to see how the draft that is in the Green Paper evolves through the Joint Select Committee. In terms of the Ministry paper, obviously it's just been tabled and I've only had an opportunity to just flip through it. What I would say is that it does seem to contain largely general statements which are uncontroversial and not surprising. I haven't really seen anything that would suggest an embedding of an accountability framework within it for ministers with some performance metrics that obviously wouldn't be in the Ministry paper but would be provided for that would allow some measurement of performance. I'm not seeing that, but as I said, I haven't read it thoroughly yet. But I think that would be important for it to move beyond just a statement of principles or high-level ideas around what ministers ought to do and ought not to do, and to actually be something which could provide a mechanism for holding ministers accountable for their performance.